So today, I just really want to welcome you. I'm very excited to have Amy and Mitchell joining us. They are students in the current program that's being offered this year, and they're going to share a little bit of their insights. Also very excited to have Jan and Patty join us, who are instructors in the program, as well as Jody, our facilitator for the program, and Gail and Gabby, who are our interpreters for today. So welcome everyone, and thank you for making the effort to be here. I am Joanne McDonald, Chair of Human Services, and the certificate program falls within our umbrella of human service programs. So we also offer educational assistant, early learning and childcare, child and youth care as additional programs that fall within the Lakeland College service umbrella. So I do want to give a little bit of an overview of the program as it rolls out, just because when we do the American Sign Language and Deaf Culture Studies program, the courses really build on each other. So while you might think of a traditional full-time program as being in a number of courses, what happens is that we start really with the building blocks of ASL, I call it. And so really you'll only have a couple courses at the start of each semester, and then build on that. So you need to have the skills that are in ASL 101 before you can go on to ASL 102. And so the semesters look a little bit different than maybe what you would traditionally think of as a program that's offered online to build your skill set. We do ask that students also participate in a communications course that is offered kind of simultaneously with your ASL courses, as well as then later on in the program, we have a deaf culture courses that you will take as well. So within the semester, you kind of take quickly ASL 101, and then you move into ASL 102. And Patty and Jan can later share a little bit more about some of the unique characteristics that happen within the course. So we do offer it in an online format, which has been a great way for people that are spread out across Canada to be able to join the program. And we're excited that that seems to be working well. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amy and Mitchell to kind of share some of their experiences.
Do you want me to go first? Okay, give me 1 second. So I picked this program because I always had a love for this language and culture. In the past, I have taken American Sign Language. However, I found this program the most informative and fun at the same time. The instructors are very fun and encouraging, and they've never made me feel insecure. With the progressing, I can tell that my finger spelling speed and signing both have improved, and I've learned so much of the culture too. This program has given me the opportunity to practice my skills, meet other students with the same love of the language. My advice would definitely be meeting other students, not being afraid to reach out. Next year, I hope to enroll in Nova Scotia Community College for interpreting. I already have my one interview. I'm waiting for a live interview. I would like to become an interpreter for deaf actors.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. That's really awesome. Neat. So I think Amy makes a really great point that this is a great program to prepare you to go on to take a sign language interpreter program offered at Nova Scotia or at Douglas, at a George Brown College as well. We've had lots of students that have actually enjoyed taking the sign languages courses and then melding them with our other human services courses. So to have a specialized skill set in working with children or youth or in a school, to be able to incorporate that sign language skill is really, really a great way to market yourself and to have an additional way to support children and youth in the classroom as well. So those are options as to where you could go once you've completed the certificate. With that, I'll ask you to jump in, Mitchell.
Yeah, for sure. Like just said, my name is Mitchell. I am currently in the ASL Deaf and Culture Studies program. I thought I would just mention 2 things that I really did love about this program, and then 2 things that I wish I would have known before the first day that for some reason I either missed or I didn't get told about that I think would really benefit a student. So for the 2 things that I really love, number 1, always, every time I talk to people about this program, is the teachers. Jan, Patty, and Amarena have just been simply amazing. And I'm not saying that just because two of them are here. They have been exceptional. They are truly supportive. They are encouraging. They're helpful, and they're so understanding with how much it takes to learn a new language, especially as an adult. It can definitely take a lot to sort of understand a whole new grammar structure or just the way things are said. And the amount of grace they have given me and support and knowledge that they have bestowed upon me, I am eternally grateful for it, and has surely helped me out a lot also in the tests. So yeah, it's been amazing, and they are great and wonderful. They're also really good to reach out to. So don't hesitate, if you're in the program and have questions, to send them emails. They will get back to you so fast, and they always have great answers for you. It's awesome. The second thing that I really love about this program is, Amy had kind of mentioned it, but learning so much about deaf culture. I was like, oh, that's interesting that we're also learning about deaf culture. I'm sure I'll enjoy that. But I didn't realize how much I would fall in love with learning about the history, the culture, the amount of art that we've talked about in Davia, and about deaf culture. It's been so fun to learn about, and it just really makes it not just learning a language, but learning about an entire community, which I think can get missed when people are like, oh, I want to learn a language, but there's so much to it. There's so much more than just a language. And Patty, Jan, Emerina have done an amazing job at making sure we really do know about, there's so much more than just a language. It's awesome. And then two things that I really wish I would have known before the program started. I remember when I got my acceptance letter, and I saw on there in all caps, it said no English allowed. And I kind of panicked. I had no idea what that meant or what that would look like in class. And I freaked out for a good 2 solid weeks. And then day one came around, and it is not as scary as it looks in all caps on a piece of paper. Essentially, it's just we really want to practice communicating in sign language. And even if you might be a little clumsy or awkward at first, use it, and I'm sure Amy can attest this too, but working through it yourself and learning how to communicate using the language has been so beneficial, and it speeds up the learning process so much faster. And it really does make sense. And the teachers, like I said before, are very gracious in giving you time to figure out how to communicate with them. They are awesome. And then the second thing is sort of how the teaching evolves. I'm sure Patty and Jan will touch base on this when they talk, but it's not you learn one subject and then you immediately move to the next. The whole program is very much so building upon a conversation and just adding more complexity and more sentence structure, more and more and more a little bit. We're still using sentences that we learned in 101, in 301 and 302 solely. It's just getting longer and more complex and more complicated. And I think that is such a great learning style. Your brain doesn't have to shift from topic to topic. Instead, you are learning a single thing and just adding onto it. It's a really great way that this program is set up, and it's never super overwhelming in the learning process. I hope that all makes sense, but that's sort of what I wanted to add to this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mitchell. Yeah, it really is that it has to build from kind of it's like creating a basement, right? And you build up and build up and build up, but you need those skills at the base level before you can move on to the next level. And really cool. One thing I think we've been really conscious of as we were designing the program is giving you time to make sure to practice, because I think the practice piece, and I'll let Patty and Jan speak to that as well, but really getting those opportunities to build in practice components and practice times is really a huge part of being able to learn that skill and build on it. So thanks for what you shared. That was amazing. Awesome. Patty, do you want to jump in next maybe and share a little bit from your perspective?
Oh, okay. I'm sure Jan would do better, but no, I'm just joking. Oh, hi, my name is Patty. I've been teaching at Lakeland for 5 years so far. I've been teaching think teaching ASL really about the motivation and the passion, just the fascination for the language. There is a lot of work that comes into it. Like Mitchell said, the structure, changing from English to ASL, it is tough. It is very much a challenge. It's a challenge for me too, really. Sometimes the students need to apply what they're thinking and be able to express that in ASL. I remember when I was teaching 202, they're really struggling with stories. And I'm sure now, I know Jan will probably touch on stories a little bit more later. Yeah. Jan, can you help me out here? Do you want me to explain what the program looks like? Yeah, sure. Do you want me to explain that? Or you, maybe you explain it. So I teach online. So prior to the classes, I do record the videos beforehand, and then I send it to the students to watch. That way, if they have any questions or maybe sign choices that I use that they don't know, remember the classes do look different. Or sorry, interpreter error. The classes in person are different than online. So that way I record those videos so we're able to talk about it during class. Jan? Generally, the program itself is, sorry, the interpreter just missed the spelling.
Accelerated.
So the culture is very accelerated. It's also a very blended learning program. So it means that the students are expected to learn half of it outside of class and then the other half during class. So each teacher has different styles of the approach on how the courses look like. Some teachers will have core concepts that they'll teach before class through a video, like it's pre-recorded on YouTube, for example. And then during class, they'll expand on those concepts, have some practice time and discuss that. Or they can do teaching during class. And then outside of class, they will apply it by watching video assignments, doing partner work. So generally the students are expected to do either or. Class time is really just not enough. There's activities, there's group work. So that's the class time is just half of the course, and then the other half, they're expected to practice and review on their own time. Also, Patty wants to add, we do give homework as well. Yep. There's assignments, for example. For their assignments, they're responsible for recording themselves. And then me and Jan check the recordings and we give them feedback. Feedback on how to improve their signing style, that kind of thing. So ASL 101 and 102, those first two courses are typically heavily reliant on comprehension. And then ASL 201 and 202 becomes more about comprehension and the expressive skills. And then moving on to the 300 level, 301 and 302 and 303, it's more on the signing skill. That's generally the idea of how our courses work. Is
Awesome.
that good? Do I have to add any more?
Awesome. Thank you, Jan and
Oh.
Patty. Oh, Patty has a thought, I can tell.
Yeah. Also, we teach LS, which is about deaf culture and deaf studies. and what that entails about the community and the deaf culture. I'll be teaching that next semester for Amy and Mitchell. Make sure you guys are ready. Oh, also I want to add, when I talk about the program being accelerated, I remember one class, it's about equivalent to a week, which is normally equivalent to a semester in university. So it's really a lot of information to process. That's just something to keep in mind for the students, just to be able to time manage that. Of course, we will give you support, but still there is a lot of work that comes into it. Each course is typically 5 weeks, and it is a lot of information, a lot of practicing. And then once you finish the course, you move on to the next one, and then going on through this process of learning and practicing. You really have to dedicate time outside of class for you to able to succeed and continue on in the program.
Yes, thank you, Jen and Patty, both. That's great information for the students to have. I really do think it's critical that you're aware that you will need to dedicate that extra time, and that this, because it builds on one another, the courses do go fairly quickly. So you do need to be able to give that dedication to it. So I think sometimes students think, oh, I can work and go to school full time. And I really caution you against trying to make that a balance in your life. I understand, you know, sometimes you do have to have some income, but it really does need to be that recognize that this is a full-time program. And so the work that you're putting into it will need to be that of a full-time student. We do extend the semester. So Patty mentioned about teaching coming up. So where your typical university semester is kind of from September to April, we also do, because the course is built in building blocks, we do need to extend and go right into the middle of June. So there is a little bit of an extended year for you when you're thinking of a typical term dates that are necessary for being in a university or college program. But that is because we really want you to get those cultural components as well as the language components. So that's an important piece of it as well to be aware of. I am aware of our time, and I do want to give a little minute for you to ask us questions, or if you have anything that you are wondering about or things that you're considering. Jody, do you want to maybe just introduce yourself and say hi and kind of a little bit about your role as well?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Jody, and I facilitate behind the scenes what all of these beautiful faces here do. Frontline, I just assist in the back, in the wings. So I might be the person, if you send an email to the program, who I might be the one to respond to you and answer any questions in regards to the program as a whole. If there's anything content related, that's always obviously sent to or forwarded to or immediately handled by your instructors. Yeah, I'm just kind of one of the people in the background. So if you have any questions about the program or how the structure, like Jen was saying, it's an accelerated speed. So how the structure of that goes, you're welcome to ask me those kinds of questions. And yeah, anything else. And if I don't know the answers, I'll refer you on.
Awesome. Thank you, Jody. So I do want to give a moment for you to ask questions of us too. There might be something burning that you're wondering about, and we would definitely be willing to try our best to answer those questions.
I'm curious, Amy and Mitchell, how much sign language did you know going into the year? And how did you practice outside of the classroom? Like, is there a lot of opportunity to get together with each other? Were you kind of just trying to do it on your own? How did that work for you?
I had a little bit more experience as I took ASL back in elementary and then back in high school. And I also reached out to a lot of other fellow students who I thought I would get along with, and I would sometimes go off for coffee and just like have conversations in ASL or just practice at home always too.
That is an excellent question. Side note, I have a lot less experience than Amy did. Growing up, I taught myself how to fingerspell. My mom was an EA and she had a nonverbal student. So she took a 101 class and I actually stole her dictionary and thought that I could memorize it word for word as a kid, and then I would know the language because that's how languages work when you're young. So all I knew going into the program was how to fingerspell. I'm quite proud of my ability to fingerspell. I thought I was quite good at it. Thankfully, I was in this program and got shown that I had a lot more to learn, thankfully. But yeah, Amy, like I didn't know any words. I just knew how to say hi, which everybody knows how to say hi. So in terms of like ways to practice, I appreciate what you said about trying not to have work, but I found work to be one of the best places to practice actually. It's bad. You shouldn't do this, but I have 3 jobs at the moment while I'm in school. So in my work, I'm constantly interpreting for myself and for the people around me, either in my head or just teaching people what I've been learning that week. Like, hey, do you want to know the countries? Here are all the countries I know. And just silly, but honestly, in communicating is where you learn. And in practice, just the more you practice, the more you learn. Amy is great advice practicing with your fellow students. A lot of the homework that they had mentioned, some of it is partner based. So you have to schedule a time outside of class that you can both do the homework at the same time. That's probably an important point because you have to sort of work your schedules together. And it's always nice to sort of go in an hour before you need to do it and just sort of talk about the class, what you're struggling with, practicing some of the conversations. Yeah, your classmates are your best friends in terms of communicating with somebody else who's trying to learn the language as well.
I'm just waiting. There's another question, just inquiring about if classes are out on campus or strictly online, and are there any opportunities to attend in person? Joanne, as far as I know, the plan for the fall would be to continue online. Is that correct still?
Yes, I think our plan is to continue online. I just think it is a way that we can actually have a number of people join us from a variety of locations across Canada. It is also, I mean, we are still, I think, very happy to be seeing all of your smiley faces today. And it's such a critical part of the visual language that you can actually see facial expression. So if for whatever happens in the future, fingers crossed, we don't go back to that. I think there's just some surety in knowing that the program would likely be offered online and that we would be able to know that you would be able to have be without masks and be able to have that expression be available through a different means. So right now our plan is to be online.
So does that mean we don't have to live on campus?
Right. Yeah, that would mean you could join in from whatever location you are at.
Okay. And I have another question for the teachers, because I am an older student, if I attend. What is the significance in the speed have you seen with older students being able to absorb the language compared to younger students? Has that been an issue that I've seen at all? I know that the facial expression is because I have deaf friends and hard of hearing friend, and I know that they're concerned about the older you get, the less the facial expressions are there. But as far as absorbing the finger spelling and just the sign, do you notice a difficulty?
I think even in a traditional course, age can sometimes be a factor. And in something like this, where we're moving along so quickly, but just because you're a little bit older doesn't mean that it's going to affect how you learn. Typically, I notice that the older students require a little bit more time to kind of get used to everything and catch everything, but that definitely doesn't mean that you can't do it. Absolutely you can. but I would say it requires a little bit more effort. I also notice that comprehension of fingerspelling, for example, many students struggle with that anyways. It doesn't matter what age, but typically the older students struggle with that a little bit more. The sort of receptive, comprehensive skills taking the fingerspelling. I wouldn't say that applies to everyone, but that's something that I would see often. Yeah, right, Jen. So with the fingerspelling, like I do teach some students who are a little bit older, and I'm older myself as well. But anyways, I still try to tell the older students, if you want to practice your receptive skills, that you might need a little more practice.
YouTube.
Yeah, I say that there's lots of practice available on YouTube. It doesn't matter what your age is, as long as you have the motivation and the effort and you're willing to put in the time, you can do it.
Could I actually add to this as well, if that's all right? I took 9 years off before I went back to school. So this was definitely something I was worried about as well, with not being in a school environment for quite a while, and then transitioning back into a student position definitely made me a little bit nervous. But I think what it really boils down to is the passion and the want to learn behind it. If you want to achieve something, you will put in the extra work to achieve it, right? But honestly, it was a worry that got wiped out pretty much in the first month of just being in the program and falling in love with it. You want to put in that extra work that it takes to learn things. And yeah, there's even local Facebook groups you could check to see if there's other people that are also learning the language or just want to practice talking in a public setting. There's so many assets out there. There's so many great websites outside of YouTube that also teach you stuff about it. But yeah, if the passion and drive is there, you definitely, it's not as big as an obstacle as it can seem in your head. I know I also got very worried about it, but
Patty,
so much.
unfortunately, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Patty has to leave us at the moment. She has another commitment. And so thank you, Patty, for joining us. Appreciate your time. No
Thank
worries.
you very
not to
much.
worry.
Yes, we
Just-
totally appreciate you joining us and giving your insights. It's much appreciated.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Patty. Have a good night.
Thank you. It was nice to meet everyone. Amy, Mitchell, I'll see you too soon. Bye, Jan. Bye, Jody.
Thank you very much for your questions. Is there any other questions, worries, thoughts that are kind of twirling around in your brain? We're more than happy to answer anything that you might be wondering about. So kind of one last check-in if there's any other questions.
What's the curriculum that you use?
Sorry, so we use something called Signing Naturally. It's generally used widely across Canada and the States, actually.
I'm just noticing that Jared put a question in the chat. It says, I've heard this is a certified course. Is it a school board certified, or is it a course that moves towards an interpreter certification? Certainly, it's a recognized certificate through the Alberta government. And so it can move you towards an interpreter education, or it could move you towards working in a school. We've certainly had students that went in both of those directions, depending on kind of which area they were most interested in and what best suited them. So definitely that it is a certified program.
I saw on the website that you were considering in 2023 offering the interpretive course. Do you have any inkling of like that depends on numbers, I'm assuming?
It does. And so, yeah, currently we have kind of three options. We can determine that we are going to go forward with the program if there was enough interest, or we could continue with the suspension of it, or it could be that we just decide to terminate. Our appetite as a college, of course, would be to think about continuing on if there's any opportunity to do that, but we really don't know right at this point. There certainly is some students though that are interested in continuing on from this certificate that's currently being offered. I think Amy, you mentioned you're already waiting for your next spot in the interview panel, so that's very excited and we're very proud of you. Yeah, so there are other programs that offer the interpreter program, and we did have those programs come in and kind of speak with the students that are currently in the program and talk to them about the process of moving on into the interpreter program at those other colleges. So that's definitely an option if you're interested in it that you can pursue as we move down. And like we say, we will reconsider again in 2023. So that's coming upon us quicker rather than later. So yeah. Yeah. All righty. I am aware of our time, and certainly I will put my name and my email and Jody's name and email in the chat for you. If you, go away from our meeting here today and say, wow, I wish I'd asked this question, or you get down the road and you're like, oh my, I wanted to know more about this. Please don't hesitate to reach out. We're very accessible and happy to answer any questions that you might have. I really do thank you for your patience in bearing with us as we got this Zoom call started. It's not usually this challenging. So note to self, we will have Megan involved next time. But definitely, if you have any questions, please reach out, and we'll definitely would love to hear from you. Well, I see that we have one more. So it's a generalized ASL learning course not directed toward the path of being an interpreter. No, we definitely have had students that go on into an interpreter program. It's very much sets you up for success in moving towards an interpreter program.
Just like Amy.
Yeah, just like Amy, yeah.
A better way to explain it would be that the program is focused on your ASL skills. So it gives you enough basic skills so that if you're able to enter the interpreter program, you can focus more on the interpretation process itself, because you already know how to sign. How to sign, and knowing how to sign is a lot different than knowing how to interpret. When you're in the interpreting program, it's really more focused on developing your skills of how to interpret from ASL to English, English to ASL. There are some higher level ASL courses, but I think that's more about the interpreting process, where the Sign Language Deaf Culture Studies program is more about basic ASL foundations that could help you succeed in the interpreter program if you wish to do that. I know there are a few students in the full-time program now, such as Amy, who've also applied to other programs. So it's really up to you.
Thanks, Jen. That really clarified it. Thank you. That's great. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. Have a very enjoyable Friday evening, and please reach out if you have additional questions. Special thank you to Amy and Mitchell for joining us. I really appreciated that you were able to share your experience.